Every year for Child Abuse Prevention Month, East Texans plant blue pinwheels in public spaces to raise awareness. As KLTV7's Lauren Tier tells us, the participating agencies hope these spinning toys serve as a reminder of the need for greater community involvement when it comes to protecting kids and families.
Pinwheels are beautiful, and childhood should be beautiful.
But that is not the reality for hundreds of kids in East Texas who suffer from abuse and neglect every year.
We had 683 who had some problems in their home. Some cases were called in the Child Protective Services.
The Fostering Collective also helped plant some of these pinwheels. The pinwheel has served as the national symbol for child abuse prevention since 2008, as introduced by Prevent Child Abuse America.
Our hope is that as church leaders, as social workers, as child placing agencies, just as community leaders, that we see these pinwheels and that there's an awareness that's raised that there's a need for child abuse prevention. And
the spinning blue plastic represents more than just awareness for the cause.
As far as resources, we always need resources. There are never enough resources out here to serve the families that we work with on a day-to-day basis.
Tanya Fuller from the Department of Family and Protective Services says she hopes the pinwheels spark conversations and ideas about how the community can fill the gaps in resources, emphasizing the importance of reducing the stigma around mental health.
If we can have more community resources and more people learn about mental health and not look at it as a stigma, but find out the ways that they can get involved and engage and help people who are affected by mental health.
Lauren Tier, KLTV 7 News.
And in addition to the Fostering Collective and DFPS, reps from the Winner's Circle Group of Texas, 4 Kids, 4 Families, Family and Youth Success, and also Region 4 Child Placing Agencies have also helped with the planting of those pinwheels. They'll be at Bergfeld Park in Tyler through the end of the month.